and again, what's interesting about this too is that with the Big Ten, I mean, you're going to see basically the equivalent of the potential lineup would be noon, the Big Ten on Fox with their big studio or their show that they got with ESPN, wherever the game is. CBS at 3:30, and then NBC at 7:30. Now, what the SEC is probably going to have is going to be a noon SEC game on ABC/ESPN. 3:30 game will be the SEC on ABC or ESPN, depending, and then at 7:30 will be the SEC or the ACC on ABC and ESPN. So I know that's kind of head spinning to think about that, but that's kind of what we're looking at over the next few years.
Yes, it is. And we talked about it the other day. It looks like Urban Meyer will be back with the big noon kickoff show. So he'll be in TV. Dan Mullen will be in TV. Should be interesting. Speaking of the portal, before we move on, it's amazing how many of the people that were in the portal went to the SEC.
Well, let me revise that. That note that I sent is actually the ESPN 400 players and where they went. So that one's on me. Fortunately, I caught that. But yes, to answer your question, 75% of the top 300 of the top 400 have now committed, and 101 of the 300 have committed to an SEC school. Bama's got 15 of them, Georgia 14, Florida 13. Keep that in mind. LSU 12. So the point here is, in the ESPN top 400 or in 300, as Shane said, the majority of them going to the SEC.
Yeah. Are you in the market to buy or sell your home? Doreen Weavy, a realtor with Caldwell Banker M.M. Parrish, will provide you with fast, friendly, and reliable service. Give her a call today at 352-562-1411 to help your dreams come true. Speaking with our college football analyst and Heisman Trophy voter, Brent Beaird, here on the Titan More Hotline. Brent, who has more pressure on them this year in the state of Texas and maybe nationally, the Aggies or the Longhorns? You know, the Longhorns supposedly have sold more season tickets in the history of the school this year. I just don't see it. I know they've added a bunch of dudes in the transfer portal, but I still see them going like 7-5.
Yeah, that's what they're going to be, frankly. I mean, they've got the Robinson kid at running back's a real deal.
Very good.
Now, Ewers at quarterback, this kid from Texas who transferred to Ohio State, then he transferred to Texas. He's a really talented guy, there's no doubt about it, but is he going to be able to deal with the competition that's coming? Xavier Worthy at wide receiver, Jaleel Billingsley if he has his head on right. But look, I'm with you, and the Texas beat writers will tell you the problem with Texas is their offensive line is nowhere near where it needs to be, and the defense is a crapshoot right now. So if you put all that together, you're right. They aren't going to be where people think they are. I understand the enthusiasm, but it's going to be still a few years before they rebuild that team. To answer your question, to me, the team with the most pressure is A&M.
Yeah.
Texas fans know they're still rebuilding. A&M is there, and they're out of excuses with the talent they've got and with the coaching staff that they've got. I mean, realistically, A&M can no longer be an 8-4 football team.
Yeah, we got a text here on the Titan More text line from John. He says, QB, Texas now has the number one QB, the number one running back, the number one wide receiver, the number one corner, verbally committed for a team that went 5-7 last year. How much money is being thrown around? I mean, a lot of it has to do with Arch signing there. But look,
Sure.
These rankings, and this is another homework assignment. And granted, when you're usually the top player in the country at positions, you usually turn out to be a pretty good player. But I was in Jacksonville yesterday. Speaking of, I get a million questions as you do, Brent, when you're at Publix, at the gas station, wherever it is.
Yeah.
And they were talking about the Gator wide receivers to me. And I said, Ricky Pearsall is clearly the best one. They go, well, what about Justin Shorter? He was I didn't realize this. This person follows recruiting, told me he was the number one rated wide receiver when he came out of high school in America. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. Somebody on here probably knows. But if he was, that right there goes to show you that these rankings sometimes don't pan out.
No,
nothing
correct.
against Justin Shorter. He's a good player, but he ain't the best player in America at that position. So we'll see. But Texas and A&M have a lot of money, but people got to remember these kids aren't getting any money or aren't supposed to be getting any of this money until they sign and they are on campus,
right?
Whatever their deals are. So anyway, we will see. Again, if Texas goes 5-7 or 6-6 this year, these kids can easily decommit, just like the Gators got a decommitment from South Carolina, a 4-star linebacker yesterday. So that's just my thoughts on the rankings that sometimes, and usually they're right, but a lot of times they're wrong. Lee Corso.
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead, Brent. I'm sorry.
Well, the only thing I was going to say is, in the players he mentioned were basically all offensive players. And the thing that we got to keep in mind here is, and it's worth reminding people this, and I appreciate the point he brought up, but this is not 7-on-7 football. You've got line of scrimmage and defenses involved in this, and yes, Texas is going to be greatly improved offensively, but they're not where they need to be on the offensive line and the defense. That's what will determine their season.
Yes, indeed. There was a comment, I saw this on Twitter, and you have it in your notes here, about the practicing in the National Football League to compare it to college football. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. I give Barrett Lee credit for this. He said the NFL will open practices to everybody on the planet. College football treats practices like they contain the nuclear codes to missiles, and that is true. Yeah, you mentioned Lee Corso this past Sunday, 87 years old, and been part of the coverage 35 years. Even Lee admits, and he laughs about this, he said, I'm just on here stealing money every Saturday.
Yeah, it's amazing. He's still chugging along at 87. Andy says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mountain Law, Shane, Justin Shorter is number 8 nationally in the 2018 class. Okay. Well, my partner who was discussing this, got that wrong, but still, nothing against him, but he's not the 8th best wide receiver probably coming out of that class when it's all said and done. Brent, you got a list here of the top 10 impact players from the transfer portal this year. Give us your rundown of those guys.
Yeah, and these are guys who are really going to make a difference quickly. Caleb Williams at Southern Cal, coming from Oklahoma. I keep hearing Jahmyr Gibbs is one of the better running backs Alabama's had in years. He comes from Georgia Tech. Dylan Gabriel is at Oklahoma. He was at UCF. We mentioned Quinn Ewers, Texas, now Ohio State previously. Jordan Addison, the wide receiver at USC from Pittsburgh. Zach Evans from TCU, now at Ole Miss. We've got Isaiah Neyor from Wyoming to Texas. Spencer Rattler, South Carolina. Oklahoma, Jermaine Burton from Georgia to Alabama. And then Gerard Verse, defensive end, from Albany to Florida State. So that's Matt Hayes' guess on the top 10 impact players, and they very well could.
Going from Albany to Florida State, just think about that. That's something you don't ever hear.
No, you're right about that. Yes.
Brent, there's a couple of notes here. Also, you have some questions on the upcoming season. A couple of these jump out at me. Go through a couple of them, and then if you don't cover the ones that I think are interesting, I'm going to pop the question to you.
Yeah, Jim Knowles is new defense coordinator, Ohio State. Well thought of, tremendous guy as far as reshaping defenses. So keep your eye on that for Ohio State. The one that really caught my eye, obviously, is Utah. Utah lost 3 road games last year as heavy favorites.
That's the one. I don't mean to interrupt you, but when I read that this morning, I said, you know what? Damn, Gators they got a very good chance to win this game now.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a big favorite, and they ain't a big favorite coming here.
Mm-hmm.
But you play BYU every year, you play San Diego State every year, and you play Oregon State probably every year. I don't know how the Pac-12 does it. And you didn't beat those three teams last year.
Yeah.
Look out when you come to the Swamp.
Well, absolutely. And they've got their 6 games on the road this year: Florida, Arizona State, UCLA, Washington State on Thursday night. That should be interesting. Oregon and Colorado. So it doesn't mean that Utah is invincible by any stretch of the imagination, but that is one we wanted to mention. Matt thought Oklahoma has the easiest path to the playoff, and that A&M has the toughest path to the payoff. So he has several others here, but those are some of the ones that caught our attention.
Yeah, and Andy says, to be clear, this is on Facebook Live, brought to you by Metal Law. Justin Shorter was actually the number 1 receiver, but the number 8 recruit overall. So there's a prime example right there. And Joseph just said, nice little nugget right there, Brent. Yeah, that Utes have trouble on the road. All right, that's good to know. The surprise team that y'all have here, I kind of agree with it. Well, there's multiple, but there's a few that I agree with that could cause some issues. One of them, I'm not so sure about.
Well, Mississippi State is the first team that's mentioned.
Yes, I like them this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Miami is mentioned as a surprise team. And I say this almost every week, and it bears repeating. They're going to be really good on offense. They've got maybe the best quarterback in the league, particularly with the Wake Forest quarterback going down now. We'll get on that in a little bit, but I'm still not convinced that Miami, and the beat writers will tell you the same thing, that they are not as good as people think they are. Wisconsin is mentioned here as one of the surprise teams. NC State with Devin Leary and 17 starters coming back. Keep an eye on them. Mm-hmm. And then Kansas State. By the way, for Kansas State, their quarterback is Adrian Martinez, who came from Nebraska. And hopefully he will play better for Kansas State than he did with Nebraska. So are those logical teams you think, Shane, that might surprise?
Well, NC State, I think Dave Dorn's a great football coach, has done a really good job there. The ACC is so damn confusing to me. I don't know what side NC State is on. I don't know if they're on the side with Miami or they're on the side with Clemson or if they're all on the same side. But I do think Clemson is going to be the best team there if they change their quarterback. I think Miami has a chance. I think Mario Cristobal's a good coach. I think he recruits well. But if you look at his overall record, it ain't real good. So I don't know how good Miami will be. But I do like NC State. But again, I'm hoping they're on the other side. I like Mississippi State a lot this year with their quarterback because Will Rogers is going into his 3rd year with Mike Leach, and that's usually when those quarterbacks explode in year 3.
NC State is on the same side as Clemson.
Oh, okay. Well, they still could beat Clemson. They beat them a couple years ago. Kansas State's so damn boring to watch. But that coach has done a good job coming over from North Dakota State. Brent, you got your top 5 poised players for breakout this year.
Yeah, this is interesting. Give Matt Hayes credit for this. Dallas Turner at Alabama. Jamon Dumas Johnson, the middle linebacker at Georgia. Zach Evans at Ole Miss, who we've already heard several times, Clayton Tune at Houston, and Marvin Harrison Jr. now. How old are we getting, Shane? Marvin Harrison Jr. at Ohio State.
Yeah, Ohio State, they got a slew. Speaking of that, I saw this on Twitter. I screenshot it. You know, there's some NFL preseason games tonight. Speaking of Ohio State, did you see the comment that Justin Fields made? Brent,
No,
did you hear about it?
Okay. No.
He says, first of all, the headline here I saw on Twitter says, Justin Fields says the wide receiver talent in Chicago is far below what he had at Ohio State. This is the quote. And I don't know if somebody asked him this during a press conference, but Justin Fields says, I'm throwing to guys who wouldn't have made sixth string at Ohio State. That's my biggest adjustment.
Yeah. I believe it. I think that's accurate. And
but having said that, I saw some clips of Justin Fields in 7-on-7 missing dudes wide ass open like by 10 yards. So I'm still he's a great athlete. In my opinion, he's not a starting quarterback in the National Football League. I may be proven wrong, but I don't think he throws the ball well enough to play in that league at a high level.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that.
Yeah. Okay. So the big news supposedly all over Twitter yesterday. I was in a bunch of meetings and got some texts about it. This Florida, Georgia opening it up to recruits, which I think is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And my thoughts are, if I'm being recruited by either one of these schools, why in the hell do I want to go to Jacksonville when they can't show you anything? All you're going to do is watch a game. They can't talk to the coaches.
Right.
And usually about 10 minutes left in the game, 45,000 of the people are gone. And so that will not look good for your recruits if your team is getting beat and all the fans are out of the stadium. So I just think it's ridiculous what's going on there.
Well, and I'll be brief on this, but you're right. This caused a lot of attention for Georgia, Florida media, and this comes from On3. And basically all this is, and Shane hit the highlights of it, is that Georgia plans to leave tickets for recruits and their families in Jacksonville for the first time since 2022. Well, for the first time in 2022. The Bulldogs are the designated home team, giving them the ability to do that. And this is what's important here. There still won't be any contact between coaches and recruits allowed due to the off-campus nature of the game. The SEC amended this rule back in 2012 to allow the home team to give tickets to recruits for neutral site games. But at that time, according to a Bleacher Report article, Georgia and Florida declined to do so. So, again, we thought this would be a bigger deal when we first saw it than it actually is. So, in essence, they're leaving tickets for some recruits, but this is not your typical recruiting weekend that would involve all the amenities that you get when you're on campus. So, Shane, we just needed to be clear about that as far as what it is and what it's not.
Yeah, it's. I think it's totally ridiculous. It's if I'm a recruit or my kid was a recruit, there's no way I'd want to go to that game because the idea of going to college is looking at where you're going to be going to school for 3, 4, 5 years.
Sure.
You know, checking the campus out. Now, there's times when you can do that, but just going to a neutral site game makes no sense to me. Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Speaking with Brent Beaird, our college football analyst here on the Titan Hotline. Let's get into the SEC. You talked about injuries. Gators are going through a few injuries. The Crimson Tide have their issues as well.
Yeah, they've got a slew of injuries, frankly. The biggest one being JoJo Earl, broke his foot. He's out 6 to 8 weeks. When Earl is healthy, he's a real threat because of his speed. Now, another injured player, tight end Cameron Latu, has an injury that will shelf him for a little bit. That's kind of a day-to-day deal. On a more positive note, J.C. Latham on the offensive line is playing real well, according to Nick Saban. Tyler Steen, the Vanderbilt transfer, is doing the same. They really like the Kentucky offensive line coach, Wolford, who is coming in. Doug Marrone did as best he could last year, but it really did not work out well. So they made that change. So, and Tyler Harrell from Louisville also has a bit of an injury, so they're trying to bring him along. Jermaine Burton, the Georgia transfer, has been very consistent. No surprise with that one either. And Bama's got a freshman defensive lineman, Jermaine Otis. He is down to 342. He came in at 416. So good job in losing the weight. My last Alabama note will be for quiet motivation. In the lunchroom, Alabama set up the participation trophy from the national championship game to kind of remind Alabama players that when they're having their meals about what happened last year, not saying anything, the trophy's just in there, okay?
That's why I love it, the participation trophy. That's tough business, having a participation trophy playing for the national title.
Yes.
At Auburn, do we have a quarterback decision yet?
No, but I think that Robbie Ashford, people are saying, who is that? A redshirt freshman, comes from Oregon. He's a really good baseball player, strong arm, but he's still got to get, and this is he's got to get his legs right. We've learned from Shane that the difference in a quarterback is what he can do with his legs, and that's what he's trying to do. Now, T.J. Finley was arrested for eluding police on a scooter. All that will be straightened out. So
wouldn't that be great video if like a helicopter outside of Auburn saw T.J. Finley on his scooter without his helmet, because that's what he's got multiple citations from riding his scooter with no. Could you see him weaving it out of houses going down streets in Auburn? That would have been great.
Well, I'm brief on this, but the thing that I don't get, and look, guys are students, so they just panic at times. But he didn't have a helmet. All he really needed to do was just stop. And if he'd apologized, they'd probably given him a citation and let him go. And instead, that didn't work. Now remember, too, Zach Calada from A&M is in that Auburn mix too at quarterback. So, but yeah, Shane's right. The T.J. Finley situation got a lot of attention. That if he just stopped, it wouldn't have.
Yeah. Speaking of the Gators, we touched on the injury right now. We'll find more about Ricky Pearsall. Brent, I had a buddy tell me the other day. He's like, "Look, next time you watch or hear Billy Napier do a press conference," he said, "close your eyes and just listen."
Mm-hmm.
And I did. And if you do that, that dude sounds like Nick Saban at times.
Absolutely.
Not what he says, but just his voice and how he enunciates certain things. But what else is going on with the Gators?
Well, if you're a Saban disciple, that happens. Now, Florida, depending on who you look at, is up to number 12 in the recruiting rankings. I've said all along, I think they'll be in the top 10. So people need to relax about some of this. Now, to me, the interesting thing here is they're looking at a little bit of everything, and they've drilled down on the penalties. Florida was penalized 104 times, the second worst in the conference, number 119 in the country. Now, the thing that is amazing about this is, and I give Gators Online credit because they broke the 104 penalties down, is Florida had 75 undisciplined penalties, including 29, Shane, false starts in 13 games. Now, well, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was not fun to watch from the press box, let me tell you. It drove me insane. Up in Athens, Brent, I tell people this, and it's great. Florida's moving into their standalone facility supposedly on Sunday. It's beautiful. When I walked through it last week, unbelievable. Something we needed for a long time. I was up in Athens probably in 2016 or 2017. They had just moved into their new facility. Well, I'll be damned, they just redid it this year.
Yep.
And now they're getting ready to put about $70 million into Sanford Stadium.
Right.
They're spending some money up in Athens.
They are. And obviously they've got it. After you win a national championship, you get a lot of donations you probably didn't get before. But in essence, they're making the stadium more accessible to the fans. They've got an entryway that they're going to do to make it easier to get around the stadium, add new concession stands, expand the bathrooms, and so forth. Look, and people would tell you who are Georgia fans, this is long overdue. I mean, this sounds, well, what's the big deal about that? Well, look, again, what Shane and I have talked about for months now is you've got to make, if you're going to get people to come to games, you've got to make things easier for them. And Shane, this is not a small thing, but when you improve your bathrooms and your access around the stadium, that's what you've got to do. The harder we make it for people to go to games, the less they're going to come. So to me, this is $70 million well spent.
Yeah, I mean, that's just with all the games being on TV nowadays, you got to do something to get people in the seats instead of staying at home on their couch. So it'll be interesting. I think I read a note here that Georgia's offensive line has a chance to be the best and nastiest that they've had. Is that true?
It could be the most athletic, which is interesting, to say the least. Stacey Searles is the new line coach. So that look, this bunch is still going to be really good. Kenny McIntosh and Kendall Milton are potential NFL backs if they continue to improve. The receiver group, when they're healthy, is really good. Defensively, I think they're going to be very good. Shamal Mondon, who's their inside linebacker, has really impressed. Kirby Smart, Ja'Cory Thomas, Malika Starks, two defensive backs. That they're getting a lot of reps in practice. So again, we can't sleep on Georgia for two reasons. One, they return lots of talent, and two, if people haven't seen it yet, look at their schedule. It's one of the easiest schedules in the nation. After the Oregon game, what we talked before, that they don't have a lot of challenges, so that will keep them in the hunt throughout the whole season.
Yes, it will. Camp says here, what are y'all's thoughts on the Gators picking up the commitment from South Carolina? We talked about it earlier. Jaden Robinson, 4-star. I'd heard that he was going to be flipping a couple of weeks ago. I'm not surprised. But, yeah, anytime you can get these linebackers that can run, it's a huge plus. Andy asked, Brent, how many Gator games will you attend this year? Will you come to Gainesville?
I see at least a good 2 or 3 or at least a handful. It's funny you said that because I'm sending in my credential request. Now I go to more than just Florida. I try to go to Florida State. I try to go to Georgia. I go to Alabama every year. Now there's some Saturdays I just love to be on the couch and watch. But yes, and that's important to me. I try to make it to Gainesville as often as I can. I probably will be there for Kentucky. I will be at Georgia, Florida, probably for LSU. So we'll kind of wait and see where it goes. But it's important to me to make some games. Yes.
Yeah. All right, Brent. We kept you way too long today. Before we let you go, though, give us a few nuggets.
Well, there are plenty, to say the least. LSU has been on a real run in recruiting too. They've had numerous commitments just over the last few weeks. So Brian Kelly is doing a good job. Still don't know who the quarterback's going to be. Jaden Daniels, Miles Brennan, Garrett Nussmeier among that group is a real possibility. Missouri has a starting quarterback, Brady Cook. He has been named. They open against Louisiana Tech. That's interesting. Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin likes what he's got from Quinshon Judkins, who is a running back. They're going to be pretty good at running back. This was a great quote from Lane Kiffin talking about the transfer portal. He said, "We have a guy who played for Auburn last year on defense, covering a guy who played for Mississippi State last year. That's the world. That's the world we live in." I thought that was a tremendous quote.
Yeah.
Real quick with Tennessee, they're trying to improve their defense. Tennessee last year on defense was 103rd in the nation in third down defense, allowing 42% success rate on third down. Boy, that's got to be changed real quick, to say the least. Jimbo Fisher has confirmed changes of coaching duty. Several of his offensive assistants, wide receivers coach Damian Craig, who is at Auburn, is now handling the quarterbacks. So he's moving things around a little bit. I thought a blow for Florida State. Caden Lyles, one of their offensive linemen, has a season-ending injury. That's unfortunate. It's a Wisconsin transfer. They thought that he would be in the 2 deep at center, so unfortunately he is out for the year. But again, excited about a lot of scrimmages this weekend and next weekend. So again, the next 8 to 10 days are going to be very important for that depth chart.
No doubt about it. I saw a note down here in the ACC. Sam Hartman, who's a really good quarterback for Wake Forest, he's out for a while and may not play this year. What's going on there?
Yeah. Thank you for mentioning that. This was big news yesterday. After it came out, Hartman is a big-time quarterback. He had a medical procedure. Now, what I've also seen is he may be back by the end of the year. Some of that's up for grabs. Mitch Griffiths now is the quarterback too. So, look, as Shane knows, your quarterback is so instrumental, particularly in a team like Wake Forest, and Dave Clawson does a good job with them. So, Shane, that's really going to hurt them not to have Hartman, particularly at the first few weeks of the season.
Yeah, he's a really good player. Brent, appreciate your time, my man. We'll talk to you next week.
Can't wait, brother. Take care.
Yeah, that's Brent Beaird. Join us on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline. We're going to take a timeout, come back, and wrap up today's program.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogra State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wiebe Realtor Caldwell Banker M.M. Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
On August 11th, our restaurant Spurrier's Gridiron Grill will be celebrating our one-year anniversary, and we're inviting you to Celebration Point. Proceeds from the event will go to the Ronald McDonald House, and we'll have a spread of your favorite Spurrier dishes, as well as special guests, but you have to get a reservation. So go to spurriers.com right now and reserve your spot before it sells out. And thank you for a super first year. Go Gators!
Pro football legend Emmitt Smith understands your joint pain.
It does not surprise me that there are a ton of people out there that's in pain.
That's why Emmitt is such a proponent of QC Kinetics, offering real lasting joint pain relief with non-surgical, all-natural biologic treatments.
Whether it's a joint pain, ankle pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, hip pain, any kind of pain, the body eventually will break down when it's under that much stress.
That stress can cloud your judgment to the point that you'll just say yes to the scalpel or yes to another prescription of pain pills. But maybe it's time for a second opinion from QC Kinetics.
The reason why I would recommend this is because the natural biologics that QC Kinetics is providing you gives your body a chance to naturally heal itself.
Restorative, regenerative solutions are here. Get lasting relief and live your life.
Call QC Kinetics 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics 352-400-4550.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Ruzoger State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visitogreinsurance.com. Give them a call, 352-240-1779. I want to thank Brent Beaird for joining us on the Titan MR Hotline. Let's get to This Day in Sports, brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. Beat the summer heat and schedule your air conditioner's tune-up today, keeping you chill in the Florida heat far away. Give them a call, 352-376-2366. This Day in Sports, in 1919, the Green Bay Packers Football Club was founded by George Calhoun and Curly Lambeau, and they were named after the sponsor, the Indian Packing Company. It's brought to you. That's one of the coolest franchises in all of sports, the Green Bay Packers, brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. Our Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte surrounding areas. Visit them at peachlanddental.com. I forgot to get JC's picks for the FedEx St. Jude Classic that kicks off the playoffs on the PGA Tour. I'm going to give you 4 names that I think could win it. Cameron Young, Tom Kim, which his real name is Ju Young Kim, who won last week at 19 or 20 years old, Victor Hovland, and Sam Burns. Those are my 4 picks for this week on the Peachland Dental picks. Greg says number 25, Lee McGriff, or Eli Williams. Number 24. How many days away are we? Are we 25 or 24, Greg? But yeah, 25. Wasn't Carlos Alvarez 25 as well? But Elijah was a really good player at number 25. Maybe we're 24 days away. Real quick, we got another text on the Titan MR text line. Where is it? Here it is. John says Gators have 15 blue chips in class so far. Brent, how many do we think we end up with? The most we've ever had is 22 in 2010. Brent's gone. Sorry about that, John. Just saw it. His numbers, number 24, Matt Jones, the big running back, and 25, Brandon James, electrifying kickoff and punt returner. So are we 24 or 25 days away? Greg says today is 24. Okay. All right. So 24. Yeah. Tomorrow will be 23. We'll talk about the good Gators that wore number 23. Hope you enjoyed today's program, folks. We'll be here same time, same place tomorrow. Tell all your friends and family members, people in the neighborhood, people at Publix to follow and like our programs and all the different platforms out there. Starting next week, I've been telling you we're going to have this new format. It starts next week. You'll like it. Have a great day, folks, and we will see you tomorrow. Take care.